afternoon. Welcome back to Towers Take Live on Facebook. It is Thursday, April 18th at about 12:33 p.m. and I'm glad that you're here because it is Thursday, April 18th. That means we're 48 hours approximately to G-Day, the G-Day game, the annual controlled scrimmage for the Georgia Bulldogs at Sanford Stadium. I'm looking forward to that. I'm sure a lot of you guys are looking forward to that. This is, as always, an interactive medium, so I'm eager to hear from you on Facebook and your Facebook comments and find out what you are looking forward to about G-Day. I'll tell you some of the things that I'm looking forward to, and then you tell me what you're thinking about. Trying to get your comments up now, see if we got them. We do. Darnell Ballard is here. Trey Walters is here. Kathy Arnold, hello. Brandon Vernon, Eric Patton, a lot of folks lining up here. Come on in. Be sure and share this so all your friends know to come on and ask questions, and we'll just have a good old time. I'll, as always, shoot straight, tell you what I think, tell you what I'm feeling. G-Day, it's one of those things, this guys like us who've covered college football for a long time, you don't generally get real fired up about this because it is after all, a scrimmage, a practice, an inter-squad. But, kind of the difference is certainly in the Kirby Smart era, we don't see as much of the team. Normally by now, 14 practices, I don't want to sound old. I can't help it. I am, right? But, in the old days, we would have seen, all of 14 practices. And there was a time they had 20 spring practices. They pared that down several years ago. DeMarco Mitchell, for instance, here says, I want to see how the defensive tackle get in their run fits. That's it must be are you a coach? It sounds like a coach question. DeMarco Mitchell wants to know, but that is a very real question that Georgia is going to get answered. But so now where I was going with that is, I'm like everybody else. I'm anxious, wrong way to put it, excited to get a look at what, the new guys in particular look like, the guys who've been waiting in the wings. How are they going to fit in? It's not so much about anymore. Certainly springs aren't as much about, Jake Fromm and DeAndre Swift and J.J. Holloman, J.R. Reed, even Tyler Clark. These aren't the guys really that you're going to see a whole lot of. You're going to see some of them. And I know Kirby Smart does as much as he can to make it entertaining. The red versus black at the outset is going to feature the number one offense against the number one defense. And that's what usually makes it a pretty competitive endeavor, especially in the early going. You're also, I don't suspect you'll see a whole lot of run game. You'll see some, but by and large, this is an exercise to work on the passing game. I think Georgia's going to pass more in general anyway in the 2019 season. But, mostly you're going to get a look at the passing game. You're going to try to see how that looks in live action. So for me, from that standpoint, I know what Jake Fromm looks like and what he's looked like, and a lot of those guys. But I'm eager to see Stetson Bennett and Dwan Mathis, at quarterback. Those young receivers, I'm real eager to get a look at. I hope everybody's healthy. I haven't checked lately, but guys like Kearis Jackson and Demetrius Robertson. I think we'll see a lot of Demetrius Robertson. Demetrius Robertson, I don't know how much has been written about this. He physically looks a lot different right now. He's definitely beefed up since he's arrived at Georgia, and I hear that's translated as well in his own field play, looking a lot better as a physical blocker. I can't wait to see Matt Landers. Can't wait to see Tommy Bush, the tall guys at the receiver position. What are they going to look like? John Fitzpatrick. Charlie Warner. I think it's going to be a breakout year for Charlie Warner. I really believe that. It needs to be. He's going to play a lot, but John Fitzpatrick behind him, what's he going to look like? There's not going to be many tight ends to play with in this spring game. More will come later with Brett Seither and the transfer from Tennessee coming in, Eli Wolf. But right now, John Fitzpatrick's going to have to show a lot, and I think he will. He's another one of those guys I think has gotten lost, sort of in the shuffle. I think he'll be pretty good. Hello, Mr. Sinkwich. Good to see you. Great Georgia legacy right there. A lot of people on here today. So let me know what you're looking forward to, and we'll talk about it. Tell me what you want to talk about with regard to the football team in terms of shaping, up today's podcast. Let's get to a couple other things. So last night at 6:30, Georgia announces the signing of Anthony Ant-Man Edwards. But look, here's the key. He was not the only one. The 2019 Georgia basketball recruiting class is 4 men thick. The key on this class, Ant-Man is the key. And let's be clear, this guy's fantastic. I've got a column that's going to post shortly after this broadcast. I talked to a member of the 1983 Final Four team, and he had a lot to say about the signing class, about Ant-Man. But mostly you got 4 top 100 recruits. And, we talk a lot about recruiting, but top 100 in basketball is a big deal. Georgia's got 4 of them, and they may not be done. We'll see. But obviously, Tom Crean being able to blend that group and Anthony Ant-Man Edwards all together, you are really going to see something in Ant-Man. There's a terrific Day in the Life of documentary that's out there on slam.com. I'm going to put a link to that in my column on him, and I would highly encourage you to go look at that. It's fascinating stuff. And so anyway, I'll have a little something on that. I just got back this past weekend. I went up to South Bend, Indiana to check out Notre Dame's spring game. They call theirs the Blue Gold game. Real inventive there, huh? And they're going to be, sorry, I got a phone call there. They're going to be really good. I mean, right now, if you look, they are generally in the top 10 of all these way too early top 25s, which are way too early. So Notre Dame's going to be really good. That's going to be the marquee matchup nationally this year. So we went up there just to get an early look, talked to Coach Brian Kelly, some of those players. It was interesting. There was almost a little bit of a backlash from some Georgia fans that we were even up there saying, hey, what is it? This is a Dog Nation, or is this a Notre Dame Nation? But look, we are going to go deeper and farther with our coverage than anybody out there. And that includes to the opponents that Georgia is going to play. We assume that most of the Georgia fans are interested in what the other teams are going to look like, what they're going to bring to Athens, or what Georgia's going to face on the road against them. And so we'll continue to get more stuff on that. What else? In baseball, y'all give a special thanks, if you haven't already, on social media or email or something, to Mike Griffith, who stayed all the way to the end of that 20-inning game, Georgia baseball against Clemson on Tuesday night, Wednesday morning. Georgia wins 3-2 in 20 innings, the longest game in Georgia baseball history. And Mike Griffith was there to the bitter end. We'd actually come from practice, from football practice. He went across the street to Foley Field to cover the game, and said, I'll go ahead and cover it, and didn't know that it was going to be 2:00 in the morning or so before he got out of there. So kudos to Griff for going over there and covering that. And so the Georgia baseball team is rolling on. They have a game tonight at 6, the first of a 3-game series against number 21 Missouri. So that'll be another good home series for Georgia. And if you haven't been over there now, I think just about every game left is sold out. Tonight's game at 6:00 is not sold out at Foley Field. If you've never had the opportunity to take in a game at that quaint little cool stadium built right in the neighborhood, right in the middle of Georgia campus, you should go over there and check that out. And it should be a good game. Emerson Hancock on the mound for Georgia. He's kind of been a tough luck pitcher, best pitcher Georgia has. Lost, I believe, his last two outings while not getting much offensive support. So there's the baseball as well. And then please support your women's tennis team. The Jeff Wallace's Lady Dogs remain undefeated, and they might, interesting. I think I noticed they might not be ranked number one. I think North Carolina, they've gone back and forth, but I think North Carolina's women's tennis team may be undefeated as well. But they are getting ready to enter into postseason play, SEC tournament first, I think, and then they'll obviously host the region. So back to the main topic du jour, G-Day and Georgia football. Again, like I said, I'm excited about it. I talked about the offense before. I want to see what you guys are saying about it. James Crump here is talking about guard. He's eager to, and this is consummate Georgia football. Really eager to break down that right guard competition. And Georgia does have an unbelievable competition going on the offensive line. Jamari Sawyer. Here's the way I see it at this time. So Ben Cleveland, we got a chance to talk to him the other day, and Ben is back. Okay, where's my Ben bell? Let's see if I got a Ben bell. Yep. Ben Cleveland is back, and also have a Zamir White bell. I heard several of you guys mentioning Zeus there a while ago, and we'll get to Zeus in a minute. But how Jamari Sawyer is going to fit into this offensive line is a really intriguing topic, because I'm not sure if he's going to start. Ben Cleveland, we talked to him this week, and he really appears to have reemerged. And listen, before he went out in Game 4 last year against Missouri, I'm told he was probably the second best lineman on that line, second to Andrew Thomas in terms of the way he was playing, winning his matchups, doing all those kind of things. So him, yes, we already did that, Brandon, but we'll do it again. Here is the Ben Cleveland bell. I have other bells. We haven't established them yet. Maybe we'll establish those. Maybe a D-Rob bell. He probably deserves his own bell. He gets asked about it. But talking about the guard situation, I think Ben Cleveland may have solidified himself. Now, the competition will go on and all that, but Cleveland being healthy was the key. So Jamari Sawyer, he plays center, he plays right guard. They've been working him at tackle. I actually don't think he's about to unseat Isaiah Wilson at right tackle either. Andrew Thomas is not going anywhere at left tackle, and Solomon Kinley has really emerged. He's actually reshaped his body a little bit. Solomon's a big, huge guy. Always has been, 350, 355. Well, I don't know what they list him. Yes, Brandon Vernon, a Nate McBride bell. Let me see if I got a fourth one back here. I do. This will be the Nate McBride bell. That one is that's a camel or a llama there on that. I'm not sure where that one came from. That's interesting. I was hoping that would be a goat, but it's not. It's so the llama bell. We'll call McBride the llama. I did a story on him last week, and he's a great kid and does a great job. But yeah, so here's where I think Jamari fits. Jamari is going to be the putty guy, and every great line has to have a putty guy. And let's be clear, I think this may be the greatest line Georgia's ever had. I'm going to have some conversations with some past linemen and some past coaches, and let's drill down on what the best. Obviously Georgia's 1980 line was great, not just the 80 line, but the 81, 82 line. But that was a different era, and they were blocking differently. Georgia had great lines, actually in the 1990s under Jim Donnan had a really good line, and then the early 2000s under Mark Richt had some great lines. The 2012 bunch was pretty doggone good. But I can't see many being better than this one in Georgia history, and then in the country this year. I certainly can't. Thank you. Yes, that is a big llama. Ease Brown says. James Crump brings up Simmons, Holloman, D-Rob, Jackson, Blount. He's talking about what would the rotation look like at wide receiver this year. That is an important factor that I think G-Day will do some to determine how those guys. That Simmons and J.J. Holloman are going to be a big part of the rotation. I think you can go ahead and pencil in D-Rob and Kyrus Jackson to some extent. It's those others. You usually take 7 or 8 on the road, usually rotate 6 or 7, generally in a wide receiver core, though I do think Georgia's going to throw it around a little bit more. They may play a few more, but that is going to be a big storyline in this. Switching to the defensive side of the ball, I'm sure you guys share my anticipation about seeing Nolan Smith and Nakobe Dean. I'm really fascinated with Nakobe Dean. I mean, I am with Nolan Smith too, and everybody else is about him. But I love what I'm hearing about Nakobe Dean, and I just think his story is pretty cool. Coming here from Mississippi, really smart kid, 4.243 GPA, scores through the roof. Came here for engineering, and has created a little bit of buzz in camp. Now, I like Georgia's inside linebacker core. Period. Okay, I like Georgia's defense. I think Tate Crowder and Monty Rice and Channing Tindall and all those guys are good to start with. But if Nakobe Dean can get in there and play and be what a lot of people talk about, and his nickname is Little Roquan, that's going to go a long way toward helping the Bulldogs on defense this year. Outside linebackers, well, been a little depleted with injuries and suspensions and those kind of things. But I think Georgia's outside linebacker core is going to be strong, and Kirby has been really upbeat about the secondary. I think that's very encouraging because it's hard for Kirby to be upbeat about a lot of things. I mean, not really upbeat, but I mean, it's his job to be critical, and especially when it comes to defensive backfield. That's where he played. That's his expertise. He's really looking for them to be flawless back there. But I think Georgia is really strong in the back end where J.R. Reed and Richard LeCount are there. I love Otis Reese too, y'all, but I think Richard LeCount's gonna be hard to get out of there based on all his experience. He's beefed up a little bit. I wrote about that at Dog Nation this week, and so Otis Reese will be very interesting because I don't think you're going to see a lot of LeCount or J.R. Reed, and I think Georgia's corners are pretty good. These guys are young. Tyson Campbell and Eric Stokes. I anticipate them being the first group on the cornerback front. But there's a whole lot of other guys in camp they're going to get a look at, and the nickel position is real intriguing. So, Tyreek McGee is the heir apparent there, coming back, and he's got a lot of experience, but Georgia's working a lot of different combinations in there. And how that shakes out is going to be very interesting to me. They got a lot of possibilities. Tyreek McGee can play safety or nickel, or he could even play corner in a pinch. But I don't know where he's figuring into things right now. And then meanwhile, you got Mark Webb and a host of other guys that are looking at that nickel position. So, Griff and I will be there. Brandon Adams will be there. Jeff Sentell will be there. The whole group. Connor Riley. We're going to try to put B.J. Sweeney to work in any way, shape, or form. I think he's Devad Wilson. Look, Devad Wilson, kind of a dark horse, in this whole thing. Devad played a lot in that Sugar Bowl game, and he's completely healthy. And so there's going to be a lot of competition in that back end. So I think it's strong. D-line is still the question. Though I think Georgia on the front line, we're talking about the top tier of the defensive line, is going to be fine. It's the depth that's the concern. But I think when you're talking about Jordan Davis, Tyler Clark, Julian Rochester, Malik Herring, there's been a little bit of buzz about Justin Young in camp. We got to talk to him this week for the first time ever, or first time I did. And he has had a really good-looking camp. And, overall, I think Georgia's depth is pretty good. You hadn't even got, all the signings, the 4 signings that are coming in here, guys like Trayvon Walker and Bill Norton and all those guys are showing up later. I think Georgia is pretty solid there. Obviously, you can't have any injuries. I think Tyler Clark has an opportunity to be an All SEC player this year. Apparently, with him, I don't know if this is a truth, but you just get the feeling from Coach Smart that it's kind of a effort and focused intensity and sustained intensity thing for Tyler Clark. But he's playing for his football future this year, and a lot of times that brings the best out of especially a senior. He's got to prove that he can play at a high level, and I think he'll be given that opportunity this year. So that helps him. Let me see some more questions. I can talk till the cows come home, as everybody knows. Kenneth Wiggins II says, if we lose a game this year, we have a problem. This team is stacked from top to bottom. Kenneth, I agree with you. This is a stacked team now. They're the bare spots like every other team. I mean, they're not flawless, and I haven't compared the rosters of the other teams in the top five, position by position across the board, and then there's other things, division, schedule, all those kind of things that come into play. But I do believe Georgia is ready for prime time this year. And I don't know how much of that's going to be underscored or anything on G Day. Here's another interesting thing about G Day, and I want to hear this. I had a couple of people, how many do you expect? Generally I expect 70,000 now for a Georgia spring game. And that's what we've seen under Kirby, from a high of 93 plus to a low of, I think it was 60 something thousand in 2017, maybe 61,000 or so. But there's rain, apparently. Has anybody seen the forecast lately? Rain could be a part of it. And then you got Easter on Sunday. So is there anybody not coming for any reason who would normally come? Let me hear from you now, and I'll share what we're finding out. Sean Burns wants to know what's up with Eddie down in Gainesville talking crap about us. That is kind of curious. I actually talked to Pat Dooley yesterday, who's covered Florida for a long time. We're talking about something else, and he loves it. Yes, Derek Tillman, Trey Hill is at center now. He loves it, but he doesn't. What is the way he put it? He says, I don't know why he wants to poke the bear, because Georgia is no doubt the bear now. Scott Anderson wants to know, can we go unbeaten? Is that all you want to know, Scott? Absolutely, Georgia can go unbeaten. I think with this roster and this schedule, Georgia has the opportunity to go to undefeated. Obviously, that would probably mean beating Alabama in the SEC championship game. That means beating Notre Dame. That means beating Auburn on the road. It won't be easy, but absolutely, I think Georgia has the opportunity to do it. Mickey Jones asking the same question. What's up with the Florida coach yapping about the score and stuff? Apparently, so talking to Pat Dooley, apparently this is a thing that he kind of always does with scores, that he's a scores guy. He's a numbers guy, and he's always looking for relationships between numbers and history and that kind of thing. And so he did the same thing, some kind of jab at Florida State as well, and he apparently did this back at Mississippi. So at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. And Georgia will gladly use as much fuel as they can. James, you're right. I'm not overlooking Texas A&M. I just didn't mention them there, but yeah, I mean, A&M is always a force to be reckoned with. I don't care what year it is. We may not have a complete appreciation here in these parts about just the behemoth that Texas A&M athletics university is, period. There's a lot of money, huge following in that program and everything else. But they're always tough, and I'm sure they will be in year two under Jimbo Fisher. Kenneth Dickey says, I will be there. Rain, sleet, snow, I'm there. So I want to hear some more of that. Let me know. I mean, if you want to give me a thumbs up that you're coming, or hearts, or just tell me what you're thinking about it. Would rain keep you away? Is Easter figuring into your equation? Because that may be a factor. Derek Tillman says Mullen running his mouth like Spurrier did against him. Yeah, but he doesn't have Spurrier's record, nor does he have Spurrier's roster. That's key. I mean, Florida. There's a lot of talk about how good they're going to be, and this year, and certainly, Florida beats the Tom that I think they finished ranked ahead of Georgia at the end of last season. I don't know that that was an accurate ranking at the end of the year. I certainly know that wasn't an accurate representation of Georgia football, what they did in the Sugar Bowl against Texas. I just think that whole thing was not handled well, quite frankly. But at the end of the day, that doesn't matter. Final rankings don't matter in a playoff system. And so we'll find out. Georgia and Florida will get to play in October, and that'll all get settled on the field. I do think it's serious. Now, Robert Eady says his son has a basketball tournament and he will miss it. It's that time of year, man. So here in Georgia, and I'm in a Coney County. They don't play on. They don't hold baseball and soccer games on G Day Saturday, but obviously a lot of other places do, and so there's a lot of uh, conflicts, for people coming to Athens and watching the game. But I do anticipate a big crowd. Anthony, the perfect gentleman, Sumbry wants to know: Will Walter Grant get any carries on Saturday? Absolutely. I think he will. I think Kirby owes that to the crowd to see what all the fuss was about. He sure does look interesting in that 84 jersey, 6'4", running the football. I'd like to see that against the 1 or 2 defense. That would be great. Um, and don't forget about, ladies and gentlemen, the incomparable hot rod Rodrigo Blankenship. It will be his final G-Day game, and I probably haven't talked about Rod enough as being the weapon that he is for Georgia in 2019. Saw him the other day in practice. If he wasn't on the field wearing his rec specs, you'd think he was a pretty good outside linebacker these days. He's in great shape. He's only gotten bigger and stronger. I see his sister on here, Trina Blankenship. Y'all say hello if you get a chance to. Terrific person and heck of a supporter. And it's her birthday this weekend, so tell her happy birthday. But yeah, Hot Rod and Georgia's special teams kicking game, a big plus in 2019. Kirby just raved the other day about Jake Camarda and the job he's doing as punter. I think we've all seen the kind of strength he has in his leg. It's just a matter of dialing it in and not getting so many touchbacks and putting it where Kirby wants it. Derek Tillman says, let Rod try a 60-yarder in the game. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw that. That'd be great. But that would be only if Rod wants to do it. Let me tell you that he is meticulous when it comes to his training and how he gets ready and what he does. We're going to have to wrap it up here, guys. I've got the warning that I need to, so get your questions in. Joshua Campbell wants to know how Aziz Ojulari is doing. Work on your spelling on that, Joshua, but he's doing fantastic. And Aziz is one of the reasons that Georgia has such incredible depth there, because Georgia's recruited five stars out the wazoo there, but Ojulari has really developed well and given Georgia much more of a depth at the position. I don't know that all these outside linebackers are going to have an opportunity to get on the field, so they're going to have to find a different ways to get on there. Hello, Ms. Hill. Lily Hill is here, y'all. Trey Hill's family will all be represented at the game, of course. What else do you want to see? And don't forget, there's a baseball game against Missouri that day. Georgia will be wrapping up a 3-game series with Missouri. And what else is going on? I'm sure there's some other stuff going on. Check your UGA calendar. A lot of happy birthdays coming out for Trina Blankenship. Jermaine Johnson's progress. Kent Caldwell has been fantastic. He got set back a little bit with an ankle injury. I assume he's going to be okay, but Nolan Smith has definitely been the buzz there. N'Kobe Dean on the inside has been something to watch. And then, of course, these defensive backs are going to be exciting to watch. Hey, I got to wrap up and get out of here. Right now, as we speak, Mike Griffith is probably pulling up at the basketball complex. Tom Crean is holding a news conference and is going to talk about this number 7 ranked basketball recruiting class led by Anthony Ant-Man Edwards. But don't forget about Christian Brown, Jaquan Walton, Tumani Kamara. All 4 of those guys, top 100 recruits, and will be joining the Bulldogs in June. I mean, they get here early. So support Georgia basketball as well. And we have got big plans for G-Day. So we're covering this just like any other game. You've got the entire Dog Nation team in town. Brandon will be doing his pregame show, and we've got lots of special guest lineup. So y'all be sure and stay tuned to Dog Nation. Lots of coverage coming in the next 48 to 72 hours on Georgia football. We got your other sports covered as well, and we appreciate you hanging around. So thanks again. If you have more questions or comments, keep them here. I always go back through and try to check the comments, see what I might have missed, and respond when and where I can. So for the rest of the Dog Nation team, I am Chip Towers. This is Towers Take live on Facebook. You can catch us every Thursday at 12:30 right here. See you next week. Bye, y'all.